I love you so.
We are in a different setup here. We're in the living room. In front of her painting. Denise Taylor is here. Kathy Lahan Cawthorn is here. Our Dory is here. I'd say we'll start in a minute. Joe Tripp is here. I think I'm going to change my angle. Can you hold the painting so it looks, can you hold the camera just so it looks at the painting? Be sure not to put your finger right, okay, good, and I'll be right back.
All of you, I'm trying not to cry, but what all of you had to say to me, I have to talk to you
Don't have your hand.
about the tribute, because I was so touched. I am so touched. I have to tell you that you'll understand. I'm going to show you.
I don't see that.
I'm just waiting till Kenny comes back. Linda Swern. Kenny, can you point to Linda? She's the one with the tennis racket. That's her, the tennis racket.
Yes.
What she and I spoke about was how, when I did the drawing of her, she said, do me the way you see me. And I said, no, I want to do it in the way you want to see yourself. Because we see each other differently, everybody. And she said, no, no, no. I want to know how the world sees me. And we made it our project that during the entire time of my drawing people, we were going to learn how people see us. And we found out that when you meet somebody and you like them, they like you back. If you're afraid of them, they'll bite you. In a sense, we create the universe around us. Never 100%. Nothing in the world is 100%. But if I like you, you will automatically like me. And so, I don't only like all the people I did, but I love them. Because Eric had said, only do people who show kindness. Because he said, Hetty, let's do a painting. Let's do one of the real world. Someday when history, wait, Kenny, this can move by itself.
That's perfect.
Someday when history will be written about our period of time, they will talk about the Holocaust. They will talk about slavery. They will talk about people with machine guns going into a school and shooting. But they won't speak of us, people who really practice kindness. So let's do a painting of people we know very well, so that we know specific acts of kindness. And that's what I'm going to do. Nobody can say you invented these people. Most people are not kind. But not only did I not invent them, but I know them personally. So let's begin right up here. Kenny, my chair moves. I can do anything. Would you turn over here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The first person on the corner, a woman in a light gray clothing, putting her hands on her little boy's shoulders. That was Eric, and that was his mother, Anna. When I look at the pictures of Eric when he was older, he had that same tender, gentle smile on his face. And in those days, he didn't know that there would be concentration camps. And the last view he had of his mother, when she was being beaten by a guard in the concentration camp. And after the war, after liberation, we went looking for her, but she was not to be found anywhere. So when she was being beaten, that may have been her death. And this is what life is. You cannot predict. When my daughter Joni once said, "Mom, what do you really want to do with art?" And I said, I would like to understand people better, but when they pose for me, they show the best side. I would like to sit in a street corner and really get to know real people in their movements. And she said, "Why don't you?" And I said, I couldn't sit on a street corner. Middle-aged European-born women couldn't sit on a street corner to paint. And she said to Eric, "Dad, listen to what Mom said. Tell her she's wrong. Here's what she wants to do. She wants to sit in a street corner and paint the street with the people in it." And I said, "Why don't you?" And she said, "European women don't, not at middle-aged." And what he said to me was, "Hetty, do everything that you want to do in life when you're allowed to. The day may come when you cannot be allowed. So grab the moment, but don't hurt anybody. Do what you want to do with your art, but don't hurt anybody. There's too much hurt in the world." Okay. The dog they had, the little dog, Eric loved him. Eric loved dogs. He always had dogs. And this dog was called Strolish. And Uncle Morris had taught him that when any stranger came, take the hat off his head and then put it back again. And that's what Strolish did. Are you going lower down? Lower down?
No, I'm pretty much...
Oh, okay. No, can you go further up? Okay. The two people, no, you and Greg.
Oh.
The two people. No, you got it. Let me show you.
Oh, this?
Yes.
Ah.
That was when I tried to do Kenny and Greg. My hand was not good anymore. It shook too much with arthritis, and no longer could do little faces. So I gave them hoods, and the one with the light sweatshirt is Greg, and the one with the red sweatshirt is Kenny. And then sitting right underneath them is me painting. And then if you go to the right side, that's Joni sitting there. My daughter Joni. Let me explain why I did it this way. I've painted them in another painting, all the family, in the one of Louisiana Street. So I don't have to paint them again. And over here is a horse in the corner, right? There's a horse named Tuscany, and he belongs to my friend, the blonde woman standing there in a red jacket.
Kathy, who is watching right now.
Kathy, up there with the horse.
Yes.
The blonde woman. Kathy is watching. And underneath the little white cat is Kathy's. Okay. Now, I want to go to the side. The little dog. The little dog is named Cooper, who passed away, and Kathy is still mourning him. And his name was Cooper, and she would bring him to come to my porch and watch me paint from the window. And she said she knows that Cooper knew. When she said, let's go watch Hetty paint, he would get all excited because he understood. And when he passed away, I put him next to my brother Richie. Let me tell you about my brother Richie. Richie smiled at everybody. I wanted to be like him. And Richie saved our lives with his smile. He smiled at everybody. And whenever he took me to school in the mornings, a group of people in the neighborhood would make a point, young women, that they would go to the window and wave at us. And when the Nazi took the Jewish men out of their homes, when the Nazi troops went from door to door and dragged out the men, she saw them dragging out my father. And she had a boyfriend who was in the army with a uniform, and she ran to him and she said, go into that house across from mine, find out where the doors had been ripped open. And when they took the men, because the little boy who smiled at me, that's his father. Find out what is the father's name and what does he look like. So they pounded on the door and said to my mother, don't be afraid. I am the friend of the girls your son smiles at. What is his name and what does he look like? And she said, he's short, he has red hair, and his name is Jacob Kilman. And they went into the street, and whenever they saw a group of soldiers with a Jewish man, they would say, is one of you Jacob Kilman? They went from group to group, and finally they reached the correct group. And my father said, that's me, I'm Jacob Kilman. And he was short and had red hair. He fit the description. And they walked him until late at night when nobody could see. Then he took him to a friend's house and took him upstairs, and he spent the night there. And the next morning, he came back home. We opened the door, and my father was there, because Richie smiled. I'm crying when I talk about it, but remember. And this is my family when we left Vienna. The woman in the beige coat was my mother. The little person next to her was me. The man in the dark suit was my father. Notice the red hair. And Richie is right next to us, walking Cooper, because Cooper needed a good home to be in. Did I finish everybody on that corner?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. The man over here
In the bike?
next to Laser, next to that sign, his name is Winter, Lee Winters. And I was on the boardwalk and I saw that sign, Laser. And Lee told me that is a little boy who loved sports. And he always watched games. And he died because he had a fit, an asthmatic fit, and they were supposed to have a stent wherever there were children who played sports. But they didn't have it. So there was no stent. And he died. And I thought I must put that here. That's Lee Winters on the bicycle. Lee Winters writes just the way I sat on street corners. He sits on the boardwalk and writes the stories of people. They're in the newspaper patch. He's a wonderful writer. And he wrote about me and about so many people. And that's, as he said, his sweetheart. Her name is Cheryl. And this is Alex. He walks with, what do you call? With
dumbbells?
Weights, dumbbells. And what he had people do was, he had people do squats. These people are all so wonderful. I will tell you more about them because I only do real people.
No, we do have some comments. They just all showed up.
I
at
would
once.
love to hear the comments.
And then now would be a good time if you, after I read, if you want to talk about the tribute because there are more people on.
Yes.
Sandy, cousin Sandy said, "You are the kindest person I know. Love you." And Eddie Weedman said, "Hi, dear Hetty, and happy belated birthday, Kenny." Thank you, Eddie. And Kathy Lahan Cawthorn said, "The cat's name is Savannah.
Right, I forgot.
She is 21 years old."
When I do the chart, I will write Savannah.
And Kathy also said, "Cooper loved you, Hetty." And Sandy Alzek, Kelman Alzek said, "What a beautiful story about my father, Richie. It brought tears to my eyes." Because Richie is Sandy's dad. And Penny Pinsky Ellis says, "An unbelievable story, Hetty. You should write a children's book and illustrate it and base it on that story. A child whose wave and smile saved his family from bad people or a bad situation.
Oh my goodness. I must.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Wow.
Sandy, that's your father I'm speaking of.
Yes. And Kina says, Hetty, love you and miss you. I love your stories.
Oh my goodness.
If you want to say anything about the tribute, because you just saw it last night for the
Let
first
me
time.
speak about the tribute. I cried and cried because, you know, it's a funny thing. Maybe love returns love. Maybe hate returns hate. Maybe by loving all of you, because you wouldn't be in this painting, even the dogs and cats, if you didn't do kindness. Thank you. Thank you. And you see on top the seagull flying. If you look at a seagull, they have a sharp beak. They've got huge wings. And we don't have to be afraid of them. Shall I talk about the museum now?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. On Kenny's birthday, we went to the Museum of Natural History. I have never had an experience like that.
Meanwhile, I will tell you about my experience having Hetty see the tribute. But meanwhile, I will just tell you that Hetty could not believe the tribute. She just couldn't believe it. And here's an example of how true that was. She had a beautiful dinner in front of her, and she could not even eat it until the final piece, which was a written piece by someone, and then she was finally able to eat again. But she was just there, blown away, and could not believe the things that you folks said, and the people who showed up from all over the world, and it just, it was such an incredible gift. So thank you all for being a part of that.
Edward Holmes. Edward. Me?
Edward Holmes, yes.
Okay. Can I speak about him?
Sure.
Don't I need to hold it?
No, you're good.
Okay. The museum was breathtaking and incredible, and I will talk about it next time. But I do need to speak about a man named Edward Holmes, who was so kind. He didn't have to be so kind. He showed us the restroom. He showed us where to go. He was there. And he said that with him, there's always safety. And I thought to myself, I've got to speak about that. Because my whole life was saved by people who were kind. I was there during Hitler time in Austria. I was there as a refugee in Panama, and there were always people who were kind. And I'd like you to face the world and to stop looking for evil. Start looking for kindness. That is my gift to the world with Eric. That's what he said I should do in the painting. I love you all. Thank you.